Hi, welcome back to Conversations with
Chris
and Crystal. And today we are talking about puppers,
Yay.
little dogs,
Yeah.
big dogs, any dog, somebody's dog.
Dog stories.
Dog stories, yeah. So we'd like to hear your dog story if you happen to be a dog person.
August is dog month.
Of dog month. So we're talking about dogs. This is the little dude that I dog sit for.
Rocco.
Our Rocco man.
Rocco.
Absolutely. And he's with us for a month. And yeah, so we were happy to have him visit on Dog Month. Yeah. And he's a Shih Tzu, and they don't seem to like things so well. They're a little fussy. Are you fussy? Hey, Rocco, are you fussy? You're kind of fussy, aren't you? Yeah, just a little bit. And then I have, no, it's been 10 years without a dog. 10 years in July 6th when she was gone. And we'll show you a picture of her. That was Reese. And she was a Yorkie Poodle mix, and she lived for 19 years and doing rather well for 19 years. The last 8-9 months were a little iffy, but she was having trouble with her hips and her eyes. She went blind, and so that was a tough one. But no, she was a special girl, and she was my girl. She was my baby, and I miss her. It's funny when we let her go. It was like she had never been here, and then it felt like she just left. It went both ways. It was like
with Ming Mei.
Yeah.
And then at the oddest times, like you'll be driving, and then something will hit you, like
yeah. And it's like, oh yeah. Well, and before I got her, it was 10 years without a dog. Yeah, so I had waited, but no, I don't see myself getting another one, because the small ones you can trip over easily. They can be a trip hazard, and there are days when we have him that I wonder. You have to be very mindful. You have to be looking for them wherever they are all the time, and so a month isn't too bad. I can handle that.
Yeah, I've known several dogs throughout my life. My ex and I, we had 2 dogs together, and I'll be telling a story about that in just a minute. But my most recent dog experience was about 14 years ago. I had a friend who had this dog who adored me. I used to call him my boyfriend. His name was Chase. I'll put some pictures in here of him too. Our first dog, my ex and I, we got this, she was a pit bull and Alaskan Malamute mix, and we named her Alieska. She was the sweetest dog. We used to take her for a drag as a puppy because she didn't want to go outside, so we'd be dragging her down the street. But one time I had surgery, and I was away from home for a couple days. And when I got back, I went straight to bed, and she came trotting in with her little chew bone in her mouth. She laid it on the pillow next to me, licked my nose, and trotted off. Like, here, this makes me feel better, so I hope it makes you feel better too. And oh, my heart just melted. That was just the sweetest thing.
They do some of the sweetest things. I know that Reese was extremely independent and wanted no man. And our next door neighbors moved in with their elderly poodle, Alex, and I remember we took her over there to visit him, and he had these little chew bones, 3 different colors. There's plastic kind of chew bones, and she got herself onto one and was enjoying it, and he went and got the others and just took his nose and pushed them next to her, like he was trying to sidle up to her too, and wanted to be friends, but she had none of it. She was very independent, doing her own thing.
Yeah, dogs, they can be so sweet.
Oh, they really can be.
Bring a tear to your
Yes. Well, like they say too, that they can be very entertaining and do fun things, and that you get a kick out of them, and when you least expect it. And I know my sister and her husband had a dog up until, I think it's been a few years ago now, and her husband made the comment while I was there. He said, I kind of miss that little thing. I don't know that he ever grew up with dogs or anything like that, but he felt like he really missed her.
When we were kids, my brother and I, my parents had this dog before we were born, and he was a German Shepherd. And when my brother and I were small, we used to crawl into his doghouse and pretend we were his puppies. I don't know how he felt about that. I don't think he was thrilled. And then after he was gone, we moved to Texas, and we had another dog that we got as a puppy, and his name, German Shepherd. He was a miniature German Shepherd,
Okay.
which miniature implies tiny, but he wasn't tiny. He was just smaller than
Than
your
your
normal.
average. Okay.
And he was a character. He hated men. He would be okay with women, but men, he was like, "Argh!" And my dad, while they were trying to house train him, my dad didn't want him getting on the couch, so he put mouse traps on the couch. Well, that dog was so smart. He was no fool. He went up to the couch and he went, bam, and knocked it so that all the traps went off, and then he got up on the couch. Oh, he was a great dog.
Yeah. They can be very, very smart. That's for sure. Yeah, I had a German Shepherd too. That was my first dog when I was 6. My uncle bought him for me, and I really didn't know what to call a dog, and my uncle said, "What are you going to call him?" I said, "Spot." I don't know. It's not that was the reader. Spot, and he said, "Spot? He hasn't got a spot on him." So all of my uncle's dogs were named Bucky because they were all into hunting and bucks and all that kind of stuff. So it was Bucky, and Bucky and I spent about 6 years just really hanging out together. My grandparents lived on 500 acres of Superior National Forest, and so I would take him out into the woods with me to look for bears and to make sure there was nothing scary out there. And there were times there were overgrown paths out there, and so it would be kind of dark, and I would say to him, "Bucky, go look for bears," and he would go off onto the side in the ditch and rustle all the way through. Then he'd come out at the other end, see me, okay, go on the other side, rustle through all of that, and then he'd come back to me and sit like, "Okay, we're ready to go. There are no bears." Yeah, he was very smart. Yeah, he was very, very smart.
About 20 years ago, I was with a guy, and we had gotten this dog named Raider, and he was just like a Shiba Inu mix.
Okay.
And we were living in this apartment complex where there was like a soccer field next to it. And he had him out there one night playing with him, and they were way across the field. And so when I got home from work, I came out there. I was like, "Oh, Raider!" And he came running towards me, and then it was dark, so I lost sight of him, and I was standing there. He tackled me just like a linebacker. He ran right into my legs. I flipped over.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
But
Yeah.
I wasn't hurt, but I felt bad for him. It's like he hit his head against me. So.
I know they do some wild and crazy things. Trying to remember, and then I remember my grandmother would go out in the fall and cut boughs off of trees, the green evergreens, to bring to a lady that made wreaths in another town. And she had this big gunny sack that was almost as tall as she was, that she was filling with these greens. And we were going back to the house, and she was dragging this, or she had it over her shoulder, and I said, "Wow, you look just like Santa Claus," because she had the big bag. And we got to a ditch that was kind of deep, and she put the bag down, and she thought, "Boy, I don't know if I'm going to get this across that ditch." And Bucky had already jumped across, and then he jumped back, grabbed the bottom of the bag in his mouth. She still had her hands on it, and he threw it across. He took it across to the other side, and she went with the bag. Yeah, whew, that was it. It was like, okay, problem solved. Bucky has this under control. And then there was a time when I wasn't with them. She was out in the woods cutting boughs, and it got dark, and she lost her way. She wasn't sure where she was. And the dog kept leaving her and coming back and crying and sitting next to her.
Like,
and then,
follow me?
Yeah. And she finally figured it out, and she took a hold of his hair on the back of his neck. She said, "Bucky, take me home." and he took her to the main road, and my grandfather worked the night shift then, and he was up, and he tells the story. He goes, yeah, he goes, I go out there, they're not home. He says, I go out there, I drive down the road looking around, and here I find a couple of vagabonds. So I picked them up and brought them home. You know? This is his lovely story of it. But yeah, so that was, yeah, he was very, very, very smart. He was very smart. And I loved him so much. I would run out. I could hardly wait to get outside and dig my nails into him and just hang on to him. And he would just sit there like, it's fine, don't worry about it. Yep. He was great.
Well, when my ex and I had Allie, we were living in this apartment complex where we had a little backyard, so it was almost like, I don't know, townhouse apartments or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so our next door neighbor was a lady who had a Samoyed dog, and he was outside all the time, morning, noon, and night, and bark, 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 bark,
Yeah.
bark, bark. He was
Yeah.
bored.
Mm-hmm.
So we asked her if he could have play dates with our dog, and so he would come over and they'd play together and everything. And the story finally came out, you know, after meeting with her about the dog and everything, that she's one of those people, I think, who thinks that a dog is like a doll that you can set on a shelf and it'll stay there or whatever, because he knocked down her Christmas tree a couple times. So that's why she wanted him outside. And I can't believe that he would go to the bathroom in the apartment. You know, it's like, you got to house train him, you know. And so eventually I felt so bad for the little guy. He was out there one time in the hot sun, and they're very hairy.
Yeah,
very
yeah,
hairy.
they are.
And no shade, and he had run out of water, so I jumped over the fence and I gave him water and food, and my ex and I talked about it, and we decided we were going to see if she would give him to us, and
Yeah.
she did.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he was with us after that.
yeah. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard to, you know, there's some people that just shouldn't have dogs or
Yeah.
animals at all. And so try to know who you are, because you really creep us out. You know, and I know the farmers, you know, and I've seen people who do that. They come from backgrounds in farms, and their dogs were there to protect the implements that were in the front yard. That, you know, if anybody came into the yard, they would, you know, sound the alarm and things like that. And it amazes me how many people move into, you know, suburban America, and they think their dog can wander wherever he wants, like they do on the farm.
We have gangs of Chihuahuas in my neighborhood
Oh.
that terrorize the neighborhood.
Chihuahua gangs. There we go.
Cholo!
Oh my goodness. Oh, I've never heard of that. That's really cute. That's cute. Yeah. So.
But yeah, you know, I mean, it's not so bad if the dog has stuff to amuse him outside, and if you go out and play with him and things like that. But if you just leave him out there and the poor thing has nothing to do, that's just cruel.
We had a neighbor that did that too, even in the winter. No, this was up in Minnesota. I mean, we'd have the gale force winds, and it was right outside my window where I was, and it would stay out there all the time. And it's like, what are people thinking?
They don't think about it.
They don't.
Those are the people that are like, oh, it's just an animal.
Yeah, you know, I think it's. I have a story about a girlfriend of mine that her husband never locked the doors in the house. And I'm thinking this must be where this comes from with the dogs. He never locked the doors. He said, well, we never locked them when I was growing up. I mean, you know. And so she asked his mother one time, she said, what is it with you guys in the doors, you know, that you didn't lock the doors? And she said, oh, actually, she said, after everybody went to bed, I went and locked all the doors. See, so that's what makes me think people think magically these dogs are already trained. They, you know, because they grew up with a dog that was this way. So why wouldn't another dog be the same way? You know, they missed the whole big picture of it. Yeah, that's what I did with Reese. I went and did dog training. We took, you know, what was it? We did advanced. But before that, you know, just the puppy training.
Well, my ex, when we got Allie, he was surprised that it took her so long to be house trained, because he said none of my dogs growing up had this problem, and then he thought back and realized, why? Because they learned from the other dogs who had already been trained that this is what they're supposed to do, so it was easier for them.
Yes.
She was by herself.
Yes. Yeah, I always thought about that. I would have liked to have gotten one before Reese went, because she was pretty smart. Well, when the first time I got him, he was 8 months old, and he came in. His mom left. He peed in my living room. He pooped through my office. And I thought, okay.
So he was mad.
Well, actually, I think he just was so excited, and everything just fell out of him, and he just didn't care where it fell out. And I thought, okay, what are we going to do? So I called another girlfriend of mine who I had taken care of her dogs, too, and I said, can I borrow Hannah for the night? And she said, oh, sure, Hannah loves puppies. I thought, oh, she's going to love this one. Because Hannah was about 12 at the time. I don't think it was really on her radar. But she came over. I think she was a part Havanese, so she's a little bigger dog. But he was so taken with her that this was a mom dog, And they went outside, and they had their noses together as they were walking. And I could just feel her telling him, okay, little dude, this is how this works, okay? And so she went and peed over in one area. He went over to the other side and peed, and he just wouldn't take his eyes off of her. And after that, I never had a problem. See, so the dog showed, or at least told him what's what, how the world works to little dude.
And he's asleep.
I don't know. Are you asleep?
He really looks like he's asleep.
Oh, yeah, he is. I just opened his eyes. I just opened his eyeballs. And he's going, what? What do you guys...
What's your problem?
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Rocco, do you have anything to say? Rocco?
I don't think
Rocco. No, I don't think so. But you know what? And you should. Here you go. You should get up and just wave to everybody. There you go.
Like, whatever.
Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
I'm relaxing in the relaxfulness. I love it. I guess they say that Shih Tzus do not necessarily. If they don't want to play, they don't want to play. They play when they want to play.
Pretty independent, I think.
I think so. I think he is. Aren't you, little dude?
Well, plus we exhausted him earlier, because when I got here, he was all over me.
He mauls her like crazy. This is his bestest bud is Chris. Every time she'll be over. She'll be over, and you guys can hang out. Okay, well, say Happy Dog Month, and just think about your four-legged friend, your fuzzy children.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Take care of yourself, because nobody else will. Bye for now.